Have you ever felt, well, stuck? Like, you know, deep down you should be moving forward, right? You can maybe even see the path, applying for that, that new scary role or tackling a really challenging skill or maybe finally having that difficult but necessary conversation. But
Mhm.
you keep hitting snooze on taking action. We're doing a deep dive today into what might just be the single biggest thing holding us back. Personally, professionally, you name it. What if the main obstacle isn't actually, external stuff, not lack of opportunity, but this invisible comfort trap you've built,
Mhm.
like a structure made of ease and familiarity and just inertia,
Yeah,
and it's quietly stopped you in your tracks.
that's exactly it. And our mission today really is to figure out why. Why are we so drawn to just staying put? And how is that instinct, that preference actually sabotaging us? We're going to unpack how this natural, deeply wired need for ease undermines our real potential for growth. And crucially, contrast that comfort trap with what we're calling the discomfort dividend, the payoff.
The discomfort dividend. I like that frame. Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. Why is comfort just so seductive? Why do we fight change so hard, even when our logical brain is screaming, this is good for you?
Right. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that this isn't some modern weakness. It's not just about willpower, not really. It's old programming. We're talking about the surprising evolutionary roots here. It's literally in our DNA. Think about early humans. For them, the familiar path, the known territory, that meant safety, survival, and really importantly, conserving energy. Comfort was basically the win condition in a dangerous world. Discomfort, that usually meant danger, a predator nearby maybe, or
Yeah.
using up precious calories.
So that ancient wiring is still running the show.
It's still fully active, yeah. In our limbic system, our brains haven't fundamentally changed their survival priorities, but our world, completely different. We're not worried about lions in the same way, but now we build these comfort bubbles through routines, constant entertainment on tap, predictable tech.
Ah, okay. So hyper specialized routines, easy entertainment.
Exactly. They feel safe, sure, but they kill novelty. And without novelty, well, growth just kind of stalls.
So our advanced brain gets hijacked by this, like, savannah survival mode. It thinks learning new software is the same threat level as facing a predator.
Pretty much, yeah. It triggers a similar stress response,
Um,
even if unconsciously. And that leads to those subtle, everyday choices that keep us stuck.
Okay, so how does that play out day to day, the inertia part?
It's just the sheer weight of it. The path of least resistance gets worn deeper and deeper. Every time you choose the same commute, the same lunch spot, stick to the same safe topics, you're reinforcing those old neural pathways. And at the same time, you're letting the muscles for exploration, for adaptation, for handling novelty just atrophy. You're basically training your brain to avoid cognitive friction.
Wow, okay, that makes sense. And that leads us right to the next big question, the price tag. If falling into this comfort is so easy, what's the actual tangible cost of staying safe? This is where it gets really interesting, right? What are we actually losing?
Oh, the cost is enormous. And the tricky part is, it's often invisible at first because it's about what doesn't happen. It's the non-event. We call it the opportunity cost. And that's the critical idea here. What amazing experiences, what skill breakthroughs, what financial gains or deeper relationships are you missing out on simply because you keep choosing ease?
Can we make that more concrete? Where does this invisible cost hit hardest for someone trying to learn and grow?
Okay, think about skill development
Hmm.
or even financial health. By avoiding that tough training course or maybe that complex negotiation, you're literally stopping yourself from earning more or achieving mastery in your field or relationships. Comfort often means staying superficial, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's avoiding that awkward but necessary chat with a coworker or maybe your partner, the chat that could actually clear the air and deepen things. Instead, you let small issues just fester,
Yeah.
all inside the safety of the bubble.
And what about the bigger picture, our mental state?
Well, long-term hit is the slow, steady erosion of resilience.
Erosion. How so?
Because resilience isn't something you're born with, not entirely. It's a muscle. It gets stronger with use, not with rest. So when you consistently avoid minor stresses or you outsource problem solving, you actually diminish your ability to handle the big stuff when it inevitably arrives.
Right. So when a real crisis hits.
Exactly. The person who's always chosen comfort suddenly finds they haven't built up the mental or emotional strength to cope. They don't have the infrastructure.
That's powerful. But hang on. Isn't some rest and comfort necessary? Like, to avoid burnout, how do we square seeking discomfort with, recovery?
Ah, that's a really crucial distinction. Absolutely. We're not talking about seeking out pointless struggle or pushing yourself into exhaustion. That's counterproductive. The key difference is intentional challenge. versus habitual avoidance. Recovery is vital for consolidating growth, no question, but consistent uh, avoidance just starves growth altogether. The source material gives clear examples, people who repeatedly chose comfort, like not submitting the innovative but maybe risky idea at work or putting off learning that complex new system. They essentially traded significant long-term gains and vitality for very temporary short-term ease.
Okay, got it. Intentional challenge, not just grinding yourself down. So if comfort has this huge hidden cost, then discomfort,
Right.
it must have a return, right? It's the discomfort dividend. Let's pivot to that. How do we actually shift our thinking? How do we reframe discomfort from thing to avoid at all costs?
Well,
Maybe.
Gonna to seek out. The first step is internalizing a new meaning.
Yeah.
Discomfort isn't punishment. It's not failure. It's more like a compass.
Yeah.
It's pointing you directly towards your biggest growth opportunities. When you feel that friction, that little bit of tension, or maybe even fear, that's the signal. That's you pushing your boundaries in a way that matters. It's the biological sign that change is happening.
To compass. I like that. Not a stop sign.
Precisely. And this isn't just, positive thinking. This reframe has a solid scientific basis. We're talking about neuroplasticity.
Ah, neuroplasticity, the brain changing itself.
Exactly. The brain's incredible ability to adapt, to rewire itself based on experience.
Yeah.
When you intentionally tackle something new and complex, learning a language, mastering a tricky physical skill, even debugging some tough code, you're literally forcing your neurons to fire in new ways, new patterns. And that activity, it physically strengthens the brain structure.
Okay, that is the big aha moment, I think. For anyone listening who loves to learn, it's not just a feeling of growth, it's physical, biological.
Yeah.
Can you explain a bit more? What does that rewiring actually look like inside the brain?
Sure. So when you wrestle with and eventually navigate a difficult task, you're creating new connections between neurons, new synapses.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, the practice actually stimulates the production of myelin.
Myelin.
Yeah, it's a fatty sheath, kind of like insulation, that wraps around the axons, the long wires of your neurons. Think of it like better insulation on an electrical cable. The thicker the myelin, the faster and more efficiently the signal travels down that nerve pathway.
Wow.
So by embracing that cognitive effort, that discomfort, you are literally building a faster, smarter, more efficient brain.
That completely explains those stories you hear. People who intentionally sought out tough experiences or hard training and achieved incredible things.
Exactly. They weren't just lucky or talented necessarily. They tapped into this fundamental biological mechanism. They understood, maybe intuitively, that the struggle itself was the key to transformation.
Okay. Cost of comfort, huge. Payoff of discomfort, also huge, scientifically proven. So now, the practical part, application. How do we actually start making this shift without getting totally overwhelmed? Because that overwhelm could just send us right back into the trap, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Overwhelm is the enemy here. The key is to start small, really small, and make it intentional. We strongly advocate for what you could call the micro-discomfort challenge.
Micro-discomforts, okay.
Tiny, actionable steps you take every day to just nudge the boundaries of your comfort zone. Small enough that failure isn't catastrophic, but big enough that you feel a little friction.
Okay, examples. What does that look like in real life?
All right, so if you always rely on email for tricky conversations, maybe the micro-discomfort is picking up the phone just once today for one of those.
Okay, I can see that.
Or if you always take the elevator, try the stairs for just a few flights. If you only read news that confirms what you already think, spend 10 minutes reading a credible source from a different perspective. Not to agree necessarily, but just to exercise that cognitive empathy muscle. These small things, they add up. They accumulate.
It sounds like building a discomfort muscle. Like you said, resilience was a muscle.
That's a great way to put it.
An intentional practice. Seeking novelty, seeking challenge, but in a way that's manageable. You're retraining your brain's default setting away from easy mode.
Precisely.
But what about inertia, that huge gravitational pullback to the familiar, especially once the initial, motivation wears off? How do we fight that?
Inertia. That's the comfort trap's secret weapon, isn't it? It's powerful. To beat it, you often need external structure. You need to leverage things like pre-commitment and accountability.
Pre-commitment, meaning?
Meaning you make the decision before the moment of weakness hits. You basically automate the uncomfortable choice so you don't have to rely on willpower in the moment.
Okay, practical strategies for that.
Well, you could sign up and pay for that challenging class in advance. Then the cost of not going feels higher. Or tell a friend or a mentor about your goal. Make it public. Add some social accountability. Even better, Block out time in your calendar for that uncomfortable but important task. Treat it like an unbreakable appointment with your most important client, which, in this case, is your future self.
That makes sense. External structure to bypass the internal resistance.
Exactly. It helps you stick with those new, slightly uncomfortable habits, especially when your initial enthusiasm starts to fade, which it always does. It makes the whole process sustainable.
Yeah, turning discomfort from this scary random thing into just a structured input for growth, like going to the gym.
Precisely. And underlying all of this, the journey really requires a fundamental mindset shift. This is maybe the most important part. You have to consciously move away from that paralyzing fear of failure, which the comfort trap feeds on, and cultivate a mindset of curiosity, of experimentation.
Failure as data, not disaster.
Exactly. Every single step outside your comfort zone, whether you technically succeed at the task or not, gives you incredibly valuable information. If you stumble. Okay, now you know where you need to strengthen things. If you manage it, great, you've literally rewired your brain and built resilience. The specific outcome of any single attempt matters far less than the decision to try, to engage.
Absolutely. I think synthesizing everything we've talked about, the core message is crystal clear. Continuous, intentional exposure to novelty and challenge. That's not just a nice to have. It seems like it's the absolute key to unlocking a genuinely fulfilling life. The trap promises safety, but it's sort of manufactured safety, right? While the dividend, the payoff from discomfort, that delivers real vitality, real resilience, real growth.
Well said.
So as you're listening and reflecting on this whole idea, the comfort trap on one side, the discomfort dividend on the other, we want to leave you with one final thought. A direct challenge, really, based on these strategies. Look at your day ahead, right now. What is just one micro uncomfortable thing you can intentionally choose to do today? Something small that pushes your boundary just a tiny bit, identify it, and then, well, go do it. Invest in your potential. Go earn that dividend.